The broken, bloody bodies of Xylothian warriors floated through the dark void of space, a testament to the brutal onslaught of the Korgath invasion fleet that would soon bring a violent end to the peaceful Xyloth civilization. Captain Zaxa gripped the armrests of his command chair, his knuckles turning white, as he watched the Xylothian planetary defenses crumble before his eyes on the view screen of the Galactic Federation ship Nexus. The distress signal from Xyloth Prime had brought them here, but they were too late. The Korgath, a ruthless species known for their advanced weaponry and insatiable hunger for conquest, had already begun their merciless attack. Zaxa hailed the Korgath commander, Warlord Crag, his heart sinking as the cruel, scarred face appeared on the screen. Crag demanded the immediate surrender of the Xylothians and the Galactic Federation, his voice dripping with malice as he threatened to reduce Xyloth Prime to ashes if they refused. Outmatched and outnumbered, Zaxor prepared to negotiate terms of surrender, the bitter taste of defeat in his mouth. The end of the Xylothian race seemed near, and the Galactic Federation would soon fall. But in that moment of despair, a massive wormhole tore open the fabric of space near the planet, and a fleet of strange, unidentified ships emerged. A message crackled over the comms. "This is Captain James Hawkins of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to help." The humans had arrived, and the tide of battle was about to turn. Captain James Hawkins had seen his share of battles in the Earth Defense Force, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight that greeted him as his fleet emerged from the wormhole near Xyloth Prime. The once peaceful planet was under siege, its defenses crumbling under the relentless assault of the Korgath invasion fleet. Hawkins' jaw clenched as he took in the scene of destruction, the broken bodies of Xylothian warriors floating lifelessly in the void. He turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Novak, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. "Assessment, Lieutenant?" Novak's fingers flew across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The Korgath fleet outnumbers the Xylothian defenses 3-1, sir. They're targeting major population centers and infrastructure. The Xylothians are putting up a fight, but they're outmatched." Hawkins nodded grimly. "And the Galactic Federation ship?" "The Nexus, sir. They're holding position near the planet, but they're not engaging the Korgath." The captain's eyes narrowed. They must be trying to negotiate, but there's no negotiating with the Korgath. They only understand one language: force. He turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through to the fleet." The officer nodded, and Hawkins spoke, his voice ringing with authority. "This is Captain Hawkins to all Earth Defense Force ships. We have a civilization to save. Engage the Korgath fleet. Draw their fire away from the planet and give the Xylothians a chance to regroup. And remember, we're not just fighting for Xyloth Prime, we're fighting for the future of the Galactic Federation. Let's show these bastards what humans are made of." A chorus of affirmatives echoed over the comms, and the human fleet surged forward, their advanced ships glinting in the light of Xyloth Prime's sun. The Korgath, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a new enemy, scrambled to respond. On the bridge of the Nexus, Captain Zaxor watched in stunned disbelief as the human ships engaged the Korgath. Their movements were fluid and precise, their weapons cutting through the enemy's shields like a hot knife through butter. The Korgath ships, despite their superior numbers, struggled to keep up with the humans' lightning-fast attacks and evasive maneuvers. Zaxor's communications officer, a young Xylothian named Tarin, gasped as a human ship executed a daring role and fired a volley of missiles at a Korgath destroyer. The missiles found their mark, and the destroyer exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "By the stars, I've never seen anything like it," Tarin breathed. "Who are these humans?" Zaxor shook his head, his eyes glued to the view screen. "I don't know, but they're giving the Korgath a hell of a fight." On the Korgath flagship, Warlord Crag's eyes blazed with fury as he watched his ships fall to the human onslaught. He slammed his fist on the armrest of his command chair, his voice a guttural roar. "Focus all fire on the human fleet. I want them dead now." The Korgath ships regrouped, their weapons locked on the human fleet. The battle raged on, the void of space lit up by the flashes of explosions and the crisscrossing beams of energy weapons. Both sides took losses, but the humans' superior tactics and technology began to turn the tide. Captain Hawkins gritted his teeth as his ship shuddered under a barrage of Korgath fire. "Shields at 60%, Lieutenant Novak reported, her voice tight with tension. "Reroute power from non-essential systems," Hawkins ordered, "and get me a targeting solution on that Korgath battleship." Novak nodded, her fingers dancing across her console. "Aye, sir, targeting solution acquired." Hawkins leaned forward in his chair, his eyes locked on the enemy ship. "Fire!" A beam of searing energy lanced out from the human ship, piercing the Korgath battleship's shields and slicing through its hull. The battleship listed to one side, its engines flickering and dying. As more and more Korgath ships fell to the humans' relentless assault, Captain Hawkins opened a channel to the Nexus. "Captain Zaxa, this is Captain Hawkins of the Earth Defense Force. We've got the Korgath on the ropes, but we can't do this alone. I propose a temporary alliance to drive these invaders away from Xyloth Prime and secure the planet's safety. What do you say?" Zaxor hesitated, his eyes narrowing as he studied the human captain's face on the view screen. He had never encountered humans before, and their sudden appearance and advanced technology made him wary. But as he watched the human fleet continue to engage the Korgath, their ships dancing through the void, with a grace and precision he had never seen before, he realized that they might be the key to saving not only Xyloth Prime, but the entire Galactic Federation. "Captain Hawkins," Zaxa said, his voice steady, "the Galactic Federation accepts your proposal. Let us work together to defeat the Korgath and secure a future for all our people." Hawkins nodded, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Glad to hear it, Captain Zaxa. Let's show these Korgath what happens when you mess with the wrong planets." As the human and Galactic Federation fleets joined forces, the tide of the battle began to turn in earnest. The Korgath, faced with the combined might of two determined foes, began to falter and retreat. And on the bridge of the Nexus, Captain Zaxor allowed himself a small smile of hope. Perhaps with the help of these mysterious humans, the end was not so near after all. The combined might of the human and Galactic Federation fleets bore down on the Korgath invasion force. Every ship focused fire on the enemy, pelting them with missiles and energy beams. The Korgath ships buckled and broke under the onslaught, their hulls shearing apart in bursts of flame. One by one, the invading vessels winked out until only debris remained. On the bridge of the Nexus, Zaxa let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "They're retreating," he said, hardly daring to believe it. "We've done it." The view screen flickered, and Captain Hawkins' face appeared, his expression one of grim satisfaction. "Captain Zaxa, the Korgath are in full retreat. Xyloth Prime is safe for now. My crew and I will be landing to assess the damage and provide whatever assistance we can to the Xylothians." Zaxor nodded. "Understood, Captain Hawkins, and thank you. We would not have survived this without your help." Hawkins gave a curt nod. "We'll speak more on the surface. Hawkins out." The human ships descended through Xyloth Prime's atmosphere, landing on the scorched earth near the ruins of the capital city. Hawkins and his crew disembarked, their boots crunching on the ash-covered ground. Zaxa and Councillor Ixel, the leader of the Xylothians, approached the humans. Ixel's eyes were filled with tears as she took in the destruction around them. The once proud spires of the city were now little more than rubble, and the air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke. "Captain Hawkins," Ixel said, her voice trembling, "words cannot express our gratitude for your timely intervention. You have saved countless lives today." Hawkins removed his helmet, revealing a face lined with the weight of many battles. "We're glad we could help, Councillor Ixel, but I fear this is only the beginning." Zaxor frowned. "For what do you mean?" Hawkins gestured to the ruins around them. "The Korgath are not known for giving up easily. They will return with even greater force, and they are not the only threat out there." Ixel's eyes widened. There are others like the Korgath? Hawkins nodded grimly. Earth has been monitoring the galactic situation for some time now. We've seen the Korgath's conquest, and we knew it was only a matter of time before they set their sights on the Galactic Federation. That's why we've been developing advanced technologies to counter the threat. Zaxxor leaned forward, his interest piqued. What kind of technologies? Hawkins hesitated, glancing at his crew. I'm not at liberty to discuss the specifics, but suffice it to say that we have made significant advancements in weapons, shielding, and propulsion systems. We're willing to share this technology with the Galactic Federation to help you better defend yourselves against the Korgath and any other threats that may arise. Ixal and Zaxxor exchanged a glance, their expressions guarded. That is a generous offer, Captain Hawkins, Ixal said carefully, but I'm sure you can understand our hesitation. We know nothing about your people or your intentions. How can we be sure that you won't use this technology against us? Hawkins opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, a deafening explosion rocked the ground beneath their feet. Zaxxor was thrown to the ground, his ears ringing. He looked up, his vision blurred, and saw Ixal lying motionless on the ground, her body twisted at an unnatural angle. "Counselor!" he cried, scrambling to her side. But it was too late. Ixal's eyes stared unseeing at the smoke-filled sky, her life snuffed out in an instant. Hawkins, his face bloodied and his uniform torn, stumbled to his feet. "What the hell was that?" he demanded. A human medic rushed to his side, scanner in hand. "Captain, you're injured. We need to get you back to the ship." Hawkins waved him off, his eyes darting around the scene. "I'm fine. We need to find out what happened." Zaxxor, his heart heavy with grief and shock, spotted a figure moving through the smoke. It was a Xylothian, but there was something wrong about the way he moved. Realization dawned on Zaxxor, and he grabbed Hawkins's arm. "Captain, that's a Korgath infiltrator," he shouted. Hawkins' eyes narrowed, and he reached for his sidearm. But the infiltrator was faster. He raised a weapon and fired, a bolt of energy searing through the air towards the human captain. Hawkins dove to the side, the bolt missing him by inches. He rolled to his feet and returned fire, his shots finding their mark. The infiltrator fell, his weapon clattering to the ground. Zaxxor stood, his mind reeling. "They were here all along," he said, his voice hollow. "The Korgath had spies within our own council." Hawkins, his face grim, turned to Zaxxor. "This changes everything. We need to—" But before he could finish, a chorus of shouts erupted from the gathered Xylothians. "This is your fault," one of them cried, pointing an accusing finger at the humans. "You brought this upon us." "They staged this attack to gain our trust," another shouted. "They want to control us just like the Korgath." Zaxxor looked around at his people, saw the fear and mistrust in their eyes. He realized that the fragile alliance they had forged with the humans was already crumbling, even as the embers of the explosion still smoldered around them. Hawkins, his expression unreadable, met Zaxxor's gaze. "We need to talk, Captain, somewhere private." Zaxxor hesitated, the accusations of his people still ringing in his ears. But he knew that they couldn't afford to let this newfound alliance fall apart, not with the Korgath still out there, waiting for their chance to strike again. "Follow me," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision. "We have much to discuss." As they walked away from the chaos of the explosion site, Zaxxor couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something much larger, something that would change the course of the galaxy forever. And at the center of it all were the humans, the mysterious newcomers who had saved them from destruction, but who might also hold the key to their ultimate fate. Captain James Hawkins lay in the infirmary of the Earth Defense Force flagship, the Prometheus, his body battered and bruised from the Korgath infiltrators' attack on Xyloth Prime. The ship's medics worked tirelessly to treat his wounds, their advanced medical technology knitting together the damaged tissue and easing his pain. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, Hawkins's mind raced with the implications of the attack. The Korgath had been one step ahead of them, planting a spy within the Zilothian Council to sow discord and undermine the fragile alliance between humanity and the Galactic Federation. On the Nexus, Captain Zaxor pored over security footage and intelligence reports, searching for any clue that might lead him to the truth behind the attack. He knew that time was running out. The longer the humans and the Galactic Federation remained divided, the stronger the Korgath would become. Zaxor slammed his fist on the console in frustration. "There must be something we're missing," he muttered to himself. "Some piece of the puzzle that will make this all make sense." His communication officer, Taryn, appeared at his side, her face grave. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the human colony on Arcadia Prime. They're under attack." Zaxor's eyes widened. "The Korgath?" Taryn nodded. "It appears so, sir. The colony's defenses are failing and they're requesting immediate assistance." Zaxor's mind raced. Arcadia Prime was a small remote colony, far from the front lines of the conflict. Why would the Korgath strike there unless— "They're testing us," he said, realization dawning on him. "They want to see how we'll react, how far we'll go to defend our allies." He turned to Taryn. "Send a message to Captain Hawkins. Tell him we need to talk urgently." On the Prometheus, Hawkins sat up in his bed, wincing as the movement pulled at his still-healing wounds. He read Zaxor's message, his brow furrowing. "Arcadia Prime," he said softly. "Damn it." He pushed himself to his feet, ignoring the protests of the medics. "I need to get to the bridge," he said, his voice firm. "We have work to do." On the bridge of the Prometheus, Hawkins and Zaxor conferred via secure video link, their faces grim. "The Korgath are using our own technology against us," Hawkins said, his voice tight with anger. "They must have reverse-engineered the weapons they captured on Xyloth Prime." Zaxor nodded. "And now they're using them to attack your colonies, to sow fear and doubt among your people." Hawkins' jaw clenched. "We can't let them get away with this. We have to strike back hard and fast." Zaxor hesitated. "Captain, I understand your desire for vengeance, but we must be cautious. The Korgath are a powerful enemy, and we cannot afford to underestimate them." Hawkins leaned forward, his eyes blazing. "I have a plan, Captain Zaxor, a way to cripple the Korgath war machine and end this conflict once and for all. But I need your help, and the help of the Galactic Federation, to make it happen." Zaxor's eyes narrowed. "What do you propose?" Hawkins took a deep breath. "We know the location of the Korgath's main shipyard and weapons production facility. It's heavily guarded, but with the combined might of our fleets, we can punch through their defenses and destroy it. Without their ability to produce new ships and weapons, the Korgath will be crippled, unable to continue their conquest." Zaxor sat back in his chair, his mind racing. The plan was audacious, risky, but it might just work. And yet he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something Hawkins wasn't telling him, some piece of the puzzle that was still missing. "I need time to consider this, Captain Hawkins," he said carefully. "The Galactic Federation Council will need to be consulted, and there are risks to be weighed." Hawkins's face hardened. "We don't have time for deliberation, Captain. Every moment we waste, the Korgath grows stronger. We have to act now, while we still have the element of surprise." Zaxor sighed, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. He thought of Ixal, of the countless lives lost to the Korgath's relentless conquest, and he thought of the humans, the mysterious newcomers who had saved them from destruction, but whose true intentions remained unknown. In the end, he knew there was only one choice he could make. "Very well, Captain Hawkins," he said, his voice steady. "The Galactic Federation will support your plan, but I have one condition." Hawkins raised an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Zaxor leaned forward, his gaze intense. "I will accompany you on this mission. I need to see for myself what we're up against and ensure that the humans are truly committed to this alliance." Hawkins hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed. We'll make the necessary preparations and depart as soon as possible." As the video link terminated, Zaxor sat back in his chair, his mind racing. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he also knew that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. And with the humans by their side, perhaps they stood a chance of emerging victorious and ushering in a new era of peace and cooperation. But even as he clung to that hope, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something else at play, some hidden truth that would change everything. And as he prepared for the mission that would decide the fate of the Galactic Federation, he knew that he would stop at nothing to uncover it, no matter the cost. The bridge of the Prometheus was a hive of activity, as Captain Hawkins and his crew prepared for the most important mission of their lives. Technicians and officers hurried from station to station, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and anxiety. Hawkins himself stood at the center of the chaos, his eyes fixed on the holographic display that hovered before him. It showed the combined fleet of human and Galactic Federation ships, a formidable force that had been assembled for one purpose: to strike at the heart of the Korgath Empire and end their reign of terror once and for all. Beside him, Captain Zaxa of the Galactic Federation ship Nexus studied the display with equal intensity. The two had spent long hours in discussion, weighing the risks and rewards of the mission, debating strategy and tactics. In the end, Zaxa had agreed to support Hawkins' plan, though not without reservations. "I hope you know what you're doing, Captain," Zaxa said, his voice low. "We're venturing into uncharted space, facing an enemy that has proven time and again to be both cunning and ruthless. If this goes wrong—" Hawkins shook his head. "It won't go wrong, it can't. Too much depends on our success." He turned to face Zaxa, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "We've come too far to turn back now. The Korgath have inflicted untold suffering on the galaxy, and it's up to us to stop them, whatever the cost." Zaxa nodded, though his expression remained troubled. "I just pray that cost isn't too high." As the fleet set out into the void, the challenges began almost immediately. The uncharted regions of space through which they traveled were treacherous, filled with gravitational anomalies, asteroid fields, and strange energy storms that played havoc with their sensors and communication systems. And then there were the Korgath. The enemy seemed to be everywhere, launching ambushes from hidden bases, sending saboteurs to infiltrate the fleet and sow chaos from within. The Alliance fought back with all the skill and courage at their command, but the toll was heavy. In the corridors of the Prometheus, tensions ran high as the casualties mounted. Crew members who had once worked side by side now eyed each other with suspicion, wondering if the next betrayal might come from their own ranks. Through it all, Hawkins and Zaxa worked tirelessly to maintain order and unity. Leading by example and inspiring their crews with their unwavering resolve, they knew that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and that any weakness or division could spell disaster. As they closed in on Korgath Prime, the fleet was a battered but unbroken force, tempered by the fires of battle and ready for the final confrontation. But then came the shocking discovery that changed everything. An intelligence report, intercepted by a human spy deep within the Korgath ranks, revealed the existence of a doomsday weapon, a device of such awesome destructive power that it could annihilate entire star systems with a single blast. The report was fragmentary, the details maddeningly vague, but one thing was clear. If the Korgath were allowed to complete the weapon and unleash it upon the galaxy, the consequences would be beyond imagining. Hawkins and Zaxa knew that they had no choice. The timetable for the assault on Korgath Prime would have to be accelerated. The risks and margin for error increased 100-fold. They would have to strike hard and fast, with every ship and every weapon at their disposal, and they would have to pray that it would be enough. As the fleet entered orbit around the Korgath homeworld, Hawkins stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, his face grim and his eyes hard as diamonds. Beside him, Zaxa was a silent presence, his thoughts his own. On the view screen, Korgath Prime loomed before them, a planet of jagged mountains and roiling clouds, its surface bristling with weapons emplacements and defensive fortifications. Somewhere down there, the doomsday weapon was waiting, its terrible power ready to be unleashed upon an unsuspecting galaxy. Hawkins turned to his crew, his voice steady and strong. "This is it," he said. "The moment we've all been waiting for. The Korgath think they're invincible, that their cruelty and their technology will make them the masters of the galaxy. But they're wrong. They've never faced the combined might of humanity and the Galactic Federation before. They've never faced the courage and the determination of those who refuse to bow down to tyranny and oppression." He paused, his gaze sweeping the bridge, taking in the faces of his crew, the men and women who had fought and bled and sacrificed to reach this moment. "We're going to show them what we're made of," he said. "We're going to fight until our last breath, until the Korgath are nothing but a bad memory, and we're going to win." Beside him, Zaxor nodded, his own resolve hardening into a diamond-hard certainty. "For the Galactic Federation," he said, his voice ringing with a fierce pride. "For all the worlds that have suffered under the Korgath's cruelty. For the future." Hawkins grinned, a feral baring of teeth. "For Earth," he said, "and for every human who refuses to submit to tyranny, let's do this." And with those words, the final assault on Korgath Prime began, a desperate all-or-nothing battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy for generations to come. The outcome was far from certain, but one thing was clear. The alliance between humanity and the Galactic Federation would fight to the bitter end, united in their determination to destroy the Korgath menace once and for all, no matter the cost. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support me, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And for every comment that says, "I liked the story," I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.